Welcome to the Bomba Pod. I'm your host, Martin Bomba, and each week we bring you meaningful conversations with guests who uplift, inspire, and encourage you to become the very best version of yourself. Whether you're chasing a dream, building something new, or just looking for a spark of motivation, you're in the right place. Produced by Dennis Ayotte and proudly supported by Window World and PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. Let's grow together. Let's be inspired. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Martin Bomba. Welcome to the Bomba Pod. I've got a great guest today. He is a coach, a dad, a husband, and he is right here in San Antonio. Coach Derek Pittman. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man.
Can I call you Coach?
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. Let's do that.
I appreciate it.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Glad you're here. We got to talking a little bit earlier, and my daughter was a big soccer player, and you were telling me a little bit about the injury that your daughter had. Is a severe injury. It's bad. My daughter's soccer career was ended with an injury too. Ironically, in practice, not in a game. They were running around on a wet field, and foot came out from underneath her, and she fractured it in 4 places. And so pins and plates and screws, I understand all that.
Yeah.
I get it.
And my daughter's was in practice as well.
Really?
It's crazy. It was just a little possession exercise or got her foot stepped on, and
Oh, my
the rest is history. But,
dude.
You know, sometimes God closes those doors and opens up other ones, and, you know, that's how life goes.
That is. It is. So tell me about your early time. Did you grow up in Oklahoma?
Grew up, born and raised in just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, a little town called Owasso. I was an Owasso Ram, and seems a long time ago. Yeah, but grew up in that area since I was little. Mom and Dad went to high school in the Tulsa area, went to high school together, and then it was me and my younger brother. My brother's 4 years younger than me, and we grew up driving race cars since we were kids. So at the age of 4 years old.
Like stock cars? Or what were you driving?
It's actually called quarter midgets.
Okay.
There's actually a track here in San Antonio off of I-90. Yep.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Off of Grimsby Road.
Cool.
At Comanche Park, just south of town. And I remember coming, and that track's been there for 50 years because I actually came here as a kid and drove race cars. And so I grew up racing cars since I was 4. In fact, the joke I've told many people, my dad and we almost missed my brother being born. Because we were out at the track practicing, and but my mom was at the hospital, and we had to hurry up. We got a phone call. Somebody came back before cell phones, all that.
I'm glad
stuff.
for your dad that
Yeah.
y'all made it back.
Yeah, we made it back, thankfully. But yeah, so my parents were fortunate. My dad owned an auto salvage business in Tulsa, and it was a really cool upbringing. We were just around cars when we were kids, and they were just encouraging us to be in sports as kids. And so I played soccer, played basketball, played a little bit of baseball, like just growing up as a youth. And
just a well-rounded athlete.
Yeah, just my dad had played junior college ball, football. And so he had kind of pushed us in some different directions, just to, try some different things. And it was great. And drove race cars till I was about 15, 16 years old, and then soccer really started taking on for me. I started joining into a club team at that time in the Tulsa area, started playing travel ball, those types of things. So I joke because at the age of 16, when I could drive cars, I stopped racing them. I just decided to drive them normally and then became a soccer player.
Your mom was probably happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. My brother went the opposite direction. Like I said, he was a little bit younger, so at his age of 15, he stopped playing soccer and decided to turn into a professional race car driver. And he was a professional race car driver for 25 plus years.
No kidding.
Yeah, so he did it at
NASCAR?
He never made it that level. He was only on the World of Outlaw sprint cars.
Okay,
so
yeah.
The oval dirt tracks.
Yeah, sure.
His car owner when he won the world championship in 2013, his car owner was Casey Kane, of his former NASCAR driver.
Wow.
And so he's made his living in race cars. I've made my living in soccer. My dad used to tell us when we were kids that he wanted one of us to be a pro in one sport and one of us a pro in the other, and we live on opposite ends of the country so that we could fly them back and forth and they could come to our events. It almost came to fruition, but
Yeah.
my brother and his family lived in Indianapolis for a long, long time.
Appropriate.
Yep, and then he retired from racing, and they moved to Tyler, Texas, so they lived there in Tyler. And then college athletics has just taken me all over the place. I've worked in 7 different schools. Started at the University of Tulsa, which was my alma mater.
That had to be kind of a dream, yeah?
It was fantastic. It was able to start at that time. I'd been recruited. My first 2 years played for a guy named Randy Waldrum, who's a legendary coach. Coached at Tulsa, helped start the Baylor program. From there, went on to Notre Dame, won a couple national championships at Notre Dame. But he's big time. He's now the head coach at the University of Pittsburgh, and he's coached on the international level for women's teams. But anyway, he was a big mentor of mine. And then when he left, Tom McIntosh, head coach, took over at Tulsa. I finished my last 2 years underneath him. He's still there as a head coach. Been there for 30 plus years. So been very fortunate to be able to do that and work underneath Tom as a graduate assistant. And then I jumped on the women's side in 2003, went to the University of Georgia, from there, University of Missouri. Then I got my first head coaching job at Arkansas State. And then from there, went to Spokane, Washington at Gonzaga. And then got my next head coaching job at Idaho, and then now here at UTSA. So we've been all over.
It sounds like you got to be willing to travel if you're going to be a collegiate coach, yeah?
Well, I told my wife, we've been married for 19 years. When we got engaged, I said, we're going to go on an adventure. I hope you're ready. So and here we are. But we've loved San Antonio. We've been here 8 years, going on season number 9. Just signed a new contract to be here for another 5 years.
Is this the longest run you've ever been at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've never been anywhere longer than 4 years until now. And till we got to UTSA.
Does it feel good? Do you like it, or are you getting kind of antsy?
No, I absolutely love it. And it's funny is we won our first championship here in 2022, and my oldest daughter came to me and was like, "Dad, does this mean we're moving?" And I was like, "No, sweetheart, time out. We're staying put." And but no, we love San Antonio. The way that San Antonio has really wrapped their arms around our program, come out and support us on a regular basis. We have led the league in the last 3 seasons in the American Athletic in home attendance, averaging over 800 people a game. We had 3 or 4 games last year with over 1,000. We expect this season to even be bigger. But yeah, San Antonio has been phenomenal to us. My wife is a school teacher here, teaches kindergarten. We absolutely love San Antonio. We're happy to stay.
Well, San Antonio loves the Roadrunners.
Well, thank you.
They do, and I do, and it makes our city proud. It really does. You guys do athletics right, I think.
Thank you.
With a lot that goes wrong with the portal and all that stuff, it's nice to see just good, clean, pure athletics that's being done right.
Yeah, I a huge compliment towards Dr. Campos and the head coaches that she's hired. I've got a great relationship with Coach Traylor, got a great relationship with Coach Clonge, Coach Aston, Coach Hallmark, go on down the list. Our coaches that we have in our athletic department are second to none. They're good people, blue collar, gritty, just hardworking people, but want to do things the right way. And listen, we got to push the envelope. We got to always keep getting better. But the way that our coaches across all the sports go about having a program that's built on core values or certain standards and expectations about how they go about their business, it has been phenomenal. It's a lot of fun to be a part of an athletic department that's surrounded by fellow coaches that work the same way.
So back in the day when you were at high school in Tulsa, you were playing all these sports and you kind of migrated to soccer. What finally solidified it in your mind that soccer was going to be a career for you?
Oof, that's a great question. I mean, I was a field goal kicker in my high school years, and kicking field goals,
which makes sense for a soccer player.
Exactly. Yeah. And even my 5th year in college, once I had finished playing my first 4 years as a college goalkeeper at the University of Tulsa, my 5th year I was on the football team and actually was a punter. So I've played a little bit across the board, but I was very fortunate when I was 15, 16 years old, try out. I had a friend of mine that had played the year prior on a travel team. It's a club called TSC, which is Tulsa Soccer Club. I was fortunate we had a coach named Keith Eddy who played over in England, but also played in the NASL for the New York Cosmos, was a captain, played with Pelé, played with Canelia, some really, really big time players back when soccer kind of first came to the U.S. back in the late 70s and 80s. He made his way to Tulsa, was a club coach for me, and really he was the one that helped me fall in love with the game and really invested in me as a player, encouraged me to go to camps, encouraged me to do a lot of different things, and I just saw a talented young player in me that maybe I didn't even see. I was just a redneck hillbilly, growing up outside of Tulsa. So it was very, very fortunate to have that opportunity. So when he really started encouraging me to do so is when I started getting recruited and started attending summer camps, at various schools and various opportunities to continue growing and getting better. And my parents were fortunate enough to be able to support us in that. And that's when I had I would say an epiphany, but a little bit of an eye-opening opportunity. Like, you know what, I can do this in the college level. And I had a few different recruiting events, that I went to, and then was eventually recruited to play. Fortunate for me, my hometown at the University of Tulsa, and be a Golden Hurricane for my time there.
Man, that is awesome.
That was cool.
So you get out of school, you decide to head over to England.
Yeah, so England was actually at the tail end of my college opportunity. I went to England in would have been January of '96.
Okay.
And it was a study abroad program for the entire spring. So it was a 6-month study abroad program. Went to Lancaster University. Right when I got there, was able to get attached to a team that was training at the university. So I was able to train with them a little bit while taking classes, and it was a great experience. Tried to stay over there and latch on to a couple different teams, but getting a work visa at that time to try to stay over, you had to there was very few opportunities to be able to do that. You would have had to have been playing for your national team at the time, which I was not good enough. You'd have had to have a military tie of some sort, and none of other than my father being in Air National Guard, and an uncle as well that had never served in a situation for the military. And then there was one other one, a different heritage that you would have had to have, and I just wasn't able to stay over there and play. So I came back for my senior year, played in '96, my senior year in college, and then finished up graduating the next May. But it was a great experience to just continue to fuel my love for the game. And then straight out of college, I didn't even know I was going to be a coach. I was actually a retail sales manager for a clothing store. Like, yeah, I was just, I could talk to people. I guess I could recruit and sell things. And that was,
which is important in coaching, right?
Exactly. And didn't know it at that time. So did that for a little while, and then got approached to coach a club team of U13, U14 boys in Little Rock, Arkansas, which was where I was living at the time, and just fell in love with it. It just kind of seemed to click, and did that for a year. Took both teams to the state championship games. Unfortunately, we lost both of them, but it just kind of gave me the buzz. And so that's when I came back to the University of Tulsa as a graduate assistant. Coached 2001 and 2002 as a graduate assistant before then jumping to Georgia in 2003 as a full-time coach. But yeah, and college coaching has taken me,
all over the United States, it sounds like.
A long way, and been very, very blessed for sure.
Is there a coach that you can recall that kind of lit the fire that you when it did come time to coach, that you kind of look back on and said, that's how I want to do it?
Yeah, it would have been Keith Eddy, which was my club coach. He just had a demeanor about him of how to push us hard enough while still being willing to put an arm around us and basically give us a pat on the back and be like, hey, you're doing well. And we strived for that comment of well done from him. Like, that was his way of just showing, hey, I love you. Well done. You fantastic. And so I think those are things for me. I mean, he was hard on us, but it was in a calm way. I'd like to think I'm as calm as him, but I'm probably not. I'm a little more emotional, a little more passionate as far as letting my emotions get the best of me. But I get a bit fiery on the sidelines. There's a running joke in my family is they know how mad I am depending on what I'm doing with my hat.
You start giving signals?
Well, if my hat's on, I'm usually good. But it's when I start fiddling with it, or if I turn around backwards, it's like they'll watch me online whenever we're playing on ESPN Plus. And if my hat's backwards, like dad's getting a little bit upset. Then if I
If that hat comes
if
off.
it comes off and I throw it down, it's like it's done. So usually a yellow card's coming or something. But
I don't think I've ever seen a successful coach that wasn't a little passionate. You know,
a
you got to
little-
be passionate.
you gotta have that hunger, I believe, and you got to show your kids that you're going to fight for them,
Yeah.
and fight with them. You know, because I think there's sometimes you're fighting with them, butting heads to get them to do what you want them to, but you also want them to feel like you're fighting alongside them and that you're there in the trenches with them, and in a huge, big time games that we've been fortunate enough to have across my college coaching career, and even this past year, winning another championship in 25. I mean, man, there's so many stories I can sit and tell you about, like this game or that game, and where that passion from our players as well as our coaching staff came out, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
When you were playing back in college, you were goalkeeper.
I was,
You were a keeper.
yeah,
That is a position that I've always admired because it can make the difference between winning and losing a game. We know that.
for sure.
But you're also kind of hanging out there by yourself. And if you make a mistake, there's no other people out there to cover it up for you.
Sure.
How did you deal with that kind of pressure?
Honestly, I never saw it as pressure. That's the thing. Like we talk on this goalkeepers. I use this with our goalkeepers now. We talk about, you got to prepare for or hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? You hope that everybody, and you hope you organize your team in such a way that they're doing their job so that it makes your job easier. And you're there just when everything hits the fan, if you will, to make sure that you're there to make the save or solve a problem, whatever the case might be. In a lot of ways, a goalkeeper position is a little bit of the quarterback of the team because you see everything. You can,
Yeah.
you are everyone's eyes in many, many ways. What's going on behind them, what's going on in front of them, next to them, et cetera. So how you solve problems before they become big issues, I think is a key to a successful goalkeeper. And so I always just saw it as a problem-solving situation. It was like, how do I help my teammates solve the problem that they're currently dealing with, whatever it might be, a shot, a cross, whatever that might be, and then what is my job in relationship to that? And yes, everybody sees the big-time goalkeeper saves. They pull the big saves out of the corners and make great reaction.
Unless you're
saves.
keeping against Messi.
Yeah, exactly. or but they also then the blunders, right? And when you make errors and so on and so forth, and you're absolutely right. Like those errors, those blunders for sure get magnified because they end up leading to goals and sometimes can end up leading to losses. Those things happen, but I think it comes with the territory, kind of what you're getting into. But I never saw that pressure as a negative. I always saw that pressure as a positive, like this is my job for the team, and go out and, as Bill Belichick says, do your job, right? Like go out and do your job. And in this particular case, that was what I was required to do.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when you were playing and doing your time at the college level, what did you take from that? And especially, is there one mistake that you made in your collegiate career that you took forward in your coaching career and said, "This I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to use this."
Oh yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh,
Tell me
man.
about it.
So there's one particular situation that happened. It was going into my senior year. A young freshman goalkeeper had come in. I was coming back from England. I trained over there. I had played my freshman year, played my sophomore year, played my junior year. So I'm going my senior year. I'm going to be a senior captain. I'm going to be a starter. And to be really fair and honest, I took my foot off the gas. And I did not do what I should have done in preparation. Like I didn't show the same hunger and humility and just desire to keep improving and growing. And the freshman came in and beat me out. And
that's an eye opener, isn't it?
Yeah, that was definitely a one that got your attention pretty quick. And for me, I shut down. And I literally the next morning didn't show up for training. Stayed in my apartment. I lived by myself, and coaches are calling me. I'm not answering. People came by, like, looking after me. I'm not answering. And I just was in a funk. I was like, I'm done. at the time, the lens I was looking through was, this is unfair, right?
Yeah,
This
your
is
ego
not
was hurt.
100%. I didn't see it at the time that I had taken my foot off the gas. It was, coaches are being unfair. This kid's not as good as me, blah, blah, blah. What have I done for this team? That, I was being selfish, 100%. And I tell this story many, many times with my team. About 1:00 that afternoon, all of a sudden there was a knock on the door. It was a little heavier than the others. And I immediately knew who it was. And it was my dad. And he showed up and, for the first time, when he probably should have smacked me across
Ripped
the
you a
head
new
and
one.
ripped me a new one. Absolutely. He sat down with me and he told me a story about an experience he had in high school as a football quarterback and for his high school team, that he had gone through a similar experience, had been benched, et cetera, and how he fought through it, and that what I was doing was being selfish. What I was doing was not being a good teammate. What I was doing was putting the attention on me and not on the team. And about 30 minutes later, I walked into my coach's office, apologized to the team. Didn't see the field until later in the season, but I was a captain on the bench, tried to find a way to be as impactful as I could. At the end of the day, the young man was better than me and deserved to be the starting, but I had to find a way to still make a positive impact on my team. And so going through that failure, going through that adversity and that challenge definitely helped shape me as a coach to where I try to help our players understand, you can do hard things. And that's something that's massive for me as a coach, is that I want our players, win or lose, is that our players, especially young women, they can be strong, they can be determined, they can be fighters and competitors that can go out and handle hard things and not to shy away from, those difficult paths when things get hard. Because I think that's a trait that a lot of young people miss today, because they all have the answers in their hand on their phone, instantaneous gratification,
Yeah.
right? And don't understand what it feels like to have to work for something. And
But boy, isn't the outcome that much sweeter when you work for it?
So much sweeter. And
Yeah,
even
man.
in my circumstance, where it wasn't a situation like I walked out and 2 weeks later I earned the job back. I went through the entire 3/4 of the season not being on the bench, still being on the bench, but
Wow.
having to find a way. And I feel like even though I played the least amount in my entire career, my senior year, I grew the most as a young man. And I grew the most as a human being to be a great teammate, be a leader in a different way.
Man, I'll tell you, you grow from those failures.
100%.
You do.
Yeah.
We got to take a break.
Okay.
When we come back, more with the coach, Derek Pittman. We'll be right back on the Bomba Pod.
This is the future team.
Oh yeah, Window World, we've been family owned and operated for 4 generations. We can't wait to see what these little guys do when they take over. Okay, maybe we can wait. I think that's best for everyone.
Want service that's honest? Window World. Service for generations.
These windows are seriously the easiest windows to clean on the market. Just a little bit of this glass cleaner, put it on there.
Window World has been family owned for generations, which means chores aren't just chores, they're part of professional development.
You got this, Layla. It's wax on, wax off.
Needless to say, things are a work in progress. For squeaky clean service you can trust, call Window World. Service for generations.
Coach loves to design the championship ring, but those stories about being able to have, continue to have those relationships, those matter more to me than anything.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times, and you mentioned having a conversation with the parents, and it wasn't an easy conversation. They weren't real happy about it. How do you deal with parents that lose sight of the fact that athletics is about more than just the sport, that it's about so much more than that, and they're just unhappy because Junior is not playing on the field?
Right.
How do you handle that?
Well, I don't have too many conversations with parents. Fortunately, at the college level, it's not that I steer away from them. I try to avoid them. but I do try to always steer back to, listen, your daughter is the one playing for me. And so I'm not going to have a conversation with you as a parent without that I haven't already had with your daughter, or vice versa. Let's have it together. And
Yeah.
I said, because we do something before the freshmen come in. We do a Zoom call with all the parents together, and we talk about what this looks like. We talk about, like, listen, I will talk with you about anything. Nothing gives me more joy than to be, after a game, win or loss, to come over to parents and shake your hand and go, whether your kid played or whether they didn't, but to be able to look you in the eye and just you congratulate us, or hey, and give us encouragement. I said, nothing is worse than walking down the fence line with a bunch of parents like staring at me like I'm the worst person in the world, like I have run over your dog, like, or I've personally,
You've wronged your child.
yes,
Yeah.
hurt your kid's feelings on purpose. Like, I don't ever put a lineup out. None of us coaches in any sport, in my opinion, we don't put ever a lineup out that we go, I think this team's going to lose today. I just chose to pick this group, right? Like, I'm not playing favorites. If I'm playing favorites, I'm playing it because these kids have done what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it, and they consistently do it. That's how we choose lineups, the ones that give us the best opportunity to win on that particular day. And you earn that throughout the week by your actions and your choices. So we talk to the parents heavily about, like, listen, I'll talk to you about anything except for playing time. If you want to talk about those things, that's a responsibility of your kid. Your kid has to be brave enough to come and have an adult conversation with me or us as coaches, and then how they take that feedback back into their next day and their next week, their next month of choices and behaviors and their growth is ultimately going to determine their path within our program. We talk a ton about how do you look at feedback? If you look at feedback as criticism, that's what is trying to tear you down, then you have a fixed mindset. You don't understand what feedback is for. Feedback, we're going to give you feedback. We give you feedback every day. But if you look at that feedback as a blessing, as a gift, as something to help you, then you're going to grow and keep getting better. And so that's critical to how we go about doing those things.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Don't always get it, but
Nope.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's tough. I mean, like I said, I've got a 14-year-old daughter right now that's playing volleyball, and I have no idea how to coach volleyball, right? And but I talk to her all the time. My wife and I talk to her all the time about, we know what it takes to play at the Division I level. My wife was a Division I college athlete at the University of Missouri. I was fortunate enough to play college athletics at a Division I level and now coach it for 25 plus years. I know what toughness, competitiveness, desire, determination, I know what those things look like. That's what the love of the game looks like. And you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And so those are things you try to instill in your kids, whatever it is, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whatever it is, find what you love and chase it, go after it.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
We're going to get some more good advice from the coach here in just a few minutes. We got to take a little break, and when we come back, more with Coach Derek Pittman right here on the Bomba Pod.
So you
I
give
have
me
no idea if that was break time or not. I just knew. I just knew we needed to get a break in there somewhere, and
we're just.
I mean, we got too much good stuff going on here to stop talking. Okay. But you know what? We got about 5 minutes at the beginning, and I went 20, so we're on time. Yeah, so we're good. Sweet. Yes, Senor Dennis, could you do me a favor? Yes, sir. Can you text JB and tell him I'm going to be a little bit late? Yep. Thank you. All right. Hey, we're back with the Bomba Pod. Today's guest, Coach Derek Pittman with the UTSA Roadrunner girls soccer program, and really appreciate you being here, man. Really
It's
do.
been fun.
This is
easy.
It's kind of bringing a lot of your stories are bringing back memories for me, and we tried to go everywhere that she played when Lindsay was playing, and those were great times. Yeah. Really good times.
There's so much about youth sports, college sports, et cetera, that just teach kids about life. That's why we talk to our kids all the time, our players, about like you're going to be a valuable asset to whatever company you go to work for, as long as you chase after what it is you enjoy.
And that really is what you're teaching is
Yeah.
life lessons, life skills.
You hope so. And I think that's why I don't. When it comes to coaching, yes, I'm very fortunate I've been able to do it in a sport that I love. But I do genuinely view it as a calling, as something that God's blessed me with the ability to lead and the ability to hopefully have a small impact on young people's lives. I've been fortunate enough to have, like I said, tons of quality coaches have impact on my life, whether that be my dad or whether that be other coaches that have played for me or I played for. And, that's what I hope that we do as coaches, is just love kids for who they are, where they are, what they're going through, teach them to be better human beings, better players, and inspire them to be better than they were the day before. That's my job.
When you're talking to a young lady about her performance or non-performance on the field, how do you talk to an 18 or 19-year-old young lady and make sure she understands her shortcomings without breaking her confidence?
It's a delicate task. I'm a very direct and demanding coach, and so I think regardless of whether we're in training, whether we're in a team film, whatever it is, I try to show some genuine curiosity. If we're watching film or we're going over a practice session, what are they struggling with? So I try to get from them, get their input, because I think they're the best ones to be able to tell me, hey, I'm struggling with this, coach, I'm struggling with that. Okay, how do you want to go about addressing that? I think the most successful cases that I've had is when we can get our players to, one, describe what they're going through and the challenges they're facing, and then be part of the solution. The number one thing I hope that we help our kids understand or be is problem solvers. Is I don't want our players to be people. We could be in a game, we could be in life, dealing with a classroom situation with a professor, whatever it is, to throw your hands up and go, well, I don't know what to do. That's the worst mentality that you can have, in my opinion, because anyone can sit and point out the problems that we have in a system, in a society, and whatever might
That never
be
works
facing.
as a manager either.
It doesn't.
I mean, that never works in leadership.
Yep. You got to be solution oriented. And so we talk a ton about is that's great. That's the problem. What's the solution? And are you going to be a part of that solution? And so that's, for me, is what's huge, is that, hey, two players are competing for playing time or whatever it is. I choose one player over another, whatever the situation is. And the player that I didn't choose, we want to talk about, okay, listen, this is what this player's doing over you, or why I'm choosing that player. And it, many, many times it just comes down to consistency. It might not even be a big discrepancy between this player's talent versus this player. This player just might do it on a 90 to 95% consistency versus this player only does it 60% of the time. Well, that could be the massive difference, right? So how can I help that player be more consistent so that they can make a case for themselves and play, in a more significant role? So we talk about all the time. We have 3 roles within our team. If you've earned the right to start, you're in the starting role. You're going to play a significant role. Second role is game changer. You're going to come off the bench. How are you changing the game and making a big impact? You're not a substitute. You're a game changer. And then the third role is a supporter, is a player that might not be playing, but how can you be the best teammate possible? How can you be the loudest on the bench? How can you be the most supportive teammate? How can you cheer your teammates on, whatever you might be going through? How can you be a great practice player that's preparing the starters to get ready for the upcoming opponent? Everyone has a role. I look at our team every year as like a new puzzle piece, or a new puzzle. Every piece is a puzzle, and everyone, sometimes they come with rounded edges, sometimes they come with sharp edges, sometimes they're corner pieces, sometimes they're but everyone has to play their part. And if you don't play your part, the picture is
It's incomplete.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the most joy I've ever had is as a coach is when they all play their part, and that we all get to see the excitement at the end. And if that ends up being wins, if that ends up being whatever the record is that we all did our best to play our part within the team structure that we had on that particular year, because they always change now with the transfer portal and so on and so forth, is always a revolt. I mean, we have 11 new players coming into our team of 29 this year. So
Wow.
I've got 18 returners.
So are you essentially in a I'm sorry to interrupt, but
go ahead.
doesn't that kind of essentially put you in a rebuilding period every single year?
Every single year. And that's what's fun to me.
Okay.
The 3 programs I've been fortunate enough to be a head coach have all been rebuilds. My first job at Arkansas State, my job at Idaho, my job here have all been rebuilds. And I think you have to look at it as every year we're bringing in this group of freshmen, this group of transfers, and we have this group of returners. How do we mesh all those pieces together? And listen, there's some years we get it right. There's some years we get it wrong. But that is the joy that I have in coaching. Yes, the X's and O's are great, the tactics, the technical side of things. But for me, it's about how do we mold every one of those personalities to where they click, and everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction. Everybody's doing their job to the best of their ability, and no one cares who gets the credit. That is what's critical.
Would you agree that that's more important than the amount of talent you have on the team?
I mean, talent matters. Don't get me wrong.
No, talent certainly matters.
I got to have fast kids. I got to have athletic kids. I got to have kids that can compete with some of the best teams in the country. So talent matters. But aside from talent, what's the age-old story? You know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And for us, it's about having a right balance. I talk all the time, and I can't remember. I know I'm going to mess it up. I think it was Coach Calhoun, a former UConn coach in basketball. He would talk about, I would rather have a B talent level kid with A mindset than the reverse, than an A talent kid with a B mindset.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And so I can do amazing things, and I think any coach would say this. We can do incredible things with kids that have a B level talent, but A plus mindset, because they are always hungry. They're always striving for more. They're always, what we talk about in our program is chasing growth. That we're chasing after growth. How do we keep getting better? We're not content with being who we are right now. We say this in our program, what got us here is not going to keep us here. We won a championship last year, and what worked last year is not going to necessarily work again this year. So we got to keep, challenging ourselves. We got to keep improving. So I hope our players, although we push them hard and I challenge them and I coach them hard, and to your point where you were asking the original question, is that everything we're doing is out of love. Everything we're doing is out of benefit for them. Everything is out about how we're helping them grow to become better players and better human beings.
When you're out there building a team and you're recruiting, when you go to look at players and you go to review tape, what are you looking for in a player? Are you looking for talent? Are you looking for that drive and that desire and that fire? Are you looking for humility? What weighs the most with you when you're recruiting?
We say all the time is talent's what gets your foot in the door, right? Your character is what keeps you there. And so you get, the talent gets you noticed, your speed, your skill, your ability to do your particular position. What's your superpower? So we talk about whether it's speed, whether it's heading ability in soccer, whatever, defending, goalkeeping, etc. Like, what's your superpower? That's going to get you noticed. Now I want to know what type of character you are. How do you treat your parents? How do you react? I ask the coaches all the time, how does she react when you sub her off? How does she act when she's going through an injury? How is she to her teammates? Is she uplifting and encouraging? Is she humble? Or is she selfish? Is she only cares about herself? Only works hard when you're watching? Those types of things. Those kids struggle for us because we have a set of core values in our program. Team grit and integrity, and that's what this logo is all built around. This was a soccer specific logo that we designed here in 2019, 2020, and so the circle around it is we run as one, our unified group, that we're all basically in this together. Obviously the Alamo on top of the ball, which is the city that we represent. We love to represent the 210. The Roadrunner, obviously the logo, the UTSA, the soccer ball the sport we play. The 3 panels on the ball in the bottom are team grit and integrity, our core values. And then the 3 stars at the top are the 3 conference championships we've been fortunate enough to win. And what's really cool is we get to add a star every time we win a conference championship. And when I first got here, we only had 1 star on it, which was our 2010 championship with a previous coaching staff back when they were in the Southland. We won one in 2022 in our last year in the Conference USA, and then we won one last year in our third year in the American Conference. So we've won 3 conference championships and 3 different leagues.
conferences.
Yeah, 3 different
That's
conferences.
crazy.
And
That's
you know,
awesome.
2 of them have been over the last 4 years. And so we just talk a ton about that. We recruit to those values. Be the best teammate you can possibly be. Be the best version of yourself for the team. And again, this goes back to not caring about who gets the credit. 2, show grit and toughness in everything you do. Be a problem solver. Be somebody that shows competitive toughness each and every time you step on the field. We want teams to walk off the fields after playing us going, holy crap, I don't want to play them ever again. Like they're just relentless in what they do. And then 3, integrity. Do what you say you're going to do, right? Show up on time. How you do anything is how you do everything. And our players know that. So we recruit to this culture so that hopefully once we put all those puzzle pieces together, it's a room full of like-minded kids that all understand that my role might be this on this team or this year, might be this the next year, or might be this some other way, right? Whatever it is, but it's all for the bigger purpose, something greater than ourselves, you know, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. And so we have a lot of high character, hardworking kids to just love to represent UTSA.
So everybody knows that the coach expects certain things of their players, and the players owe that coach a certain thing when they get on that field.
Mm-hmm.
What do you as the coach think that you owe your players?
Man, I think they know, or I genuinely feel that I owe them all of my effort when it comes to preparation. So my job at the end of the day, I believe, is all comes down to preparation. We've got to prepare them properly, one, through our training sessions. We've got to prepare them for whatever our upcoming opponent is, you know, what their schemes are, what their tendencies are, to make sure they have as much information as possible. And then ultimately prepare them to be mentally and physically ready to go out and perform to their absolute best. And so, you know, because then once the whistle blows, I mean, yes, we coach throughout the game, but for the most part, there's very little. I mean, there's different things that we can do in the game to change the outcome, et cetera, substitutions, change formations, change, you know, do different things. But for the most part, they're not going to be able to make those adjustments or do those things unless we've prepared them properly. And so for me, it all comes down to our staff pouring into the players in our preparation from, you know, all honesty, from the time our game ends on Sunday at, say, 3 p.m., how we study film to get ready for the next opponent on Thursday night. What are we doing in those 3 or 4 days to prepare our players as much as possible to go out and do that? And so that's from week to week. But what I owe them more than anything is just, you know, my love for the sport, my love for the game, my love for them, to help them, you know, be great human beings. And I hope that my daughters, you know, or when they're around them, they understand that, you know, they've got great role models to look up to, because hopefully we've had an impact on their lives. So.
Do you think that female athletes are still kind of under a pressure to show their toughness more than male athletes are?
Man, I think so, unfairly so. You know, I think, here's what I'd say is I think female athletes are a lot tougher than a lot of people give them credit for 100%. Like, because people just have that preconceived notion in their mind that they're not as strong. Or
Dude, they're vicious. Vicious. I would rather be on a field with a group of guys than with a group of girls, because I've seen how they play.
Oh, well, and my wife gets mad all the time because right now with us watching the World Cup, and she sees different players rolling around when they get ticked across the shin.
Oh,
and
please!
They're going down.
Please, you big flopper!
Yeah, they need the stretcher to come tote them off, right? But you don't see that in the girls' game. You don't see kids like flopping, and you don't see it at the higher levels. And so, yeah, I agree with you. But they've also kind of, to your point, it's like, well, I can't do that because I got to prove that I'm tough. I got to fight through that tackle, or I got to fight through that physical play, or I got to run through that, you know, hard moment, you know, which I agree that probably we don't give them enough credit for sure, but I think it's just preconceived notion that we don't think that they are. But you're absolutely right. I mean, our kids play hard. And I think if you came out and watched a training session, you'd walk away going, holy crap. Like, our kids get after it in the training sessions. We push them hard, like I said, to get after it in games. Like, I had Coach Henson was a good friend of mine before he left here. Coach Trailer's been out to a lot of our games, and every time he's like, "Oh my gosh, like, can you come teach our players to be that tough sometimes?" And I mean, we had a young lady, Kendall Close, a local kid, Lee High School, during COVID, went up for a header in a game and won the header, but as she came down, her cheekbone caught the back end of a kid's head and broke her orbital bone.
Oh my
ended up
gosh.
having to have, I don't remember exactly how many stitches, wear face mask. She was back playing 2 weeks later.
That's nuts.
And then she would have done it a week later.
That
if the
hurts me even
trainers
hearing
hadn't-
the story.
Oh, it's intense. Like, and she's tough as nails. But other kids that have gone through multiple knee surgeries, et cetera, and still out there playing at their absolute best. Bree Kerrigan is an unbelievable story from this past season. She was a kid that tore her ACL in the 24 fall over right around Labor Day. Did her full rehab, was doing everything she could to get back and play for us and contribute. And I sat her down and was like, "Listen, hey, I don't think there's only going to be like 5 or 6 games left in the season by the time you get cleared. You know, we can sit you the rest of the year, and you can, get a red shirt year and then have a multiple years to come after that. Coach, all I want to do is contribute. All I want to do is contribute." I said, "Are you sure? Because the minute I put you on the field, you're going to burn this year and it's going to be done." And she was like, "Nope, I just want to contribute, want to play." Crazy story. But short story is she scores the game-winning goal against Rice to win the championship game in overtime with her surgical knee.
That is
It's very
fantastic, man.
unbelievable.
That is
and
fantastic.
ends up being named offensive player of the conference tournament. Often most valuable offensive player of the tournament.
Good on her, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
big time. So.
Well, Coach, I don't know how we could leave it any better than that. What a great story. Thank you for what you do for the youth. Thank you for what you do for the women's program over at UTSA. We appreciate it, and I'm sure the parents really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And the girls 10, 15 years from now are going to look back and really appreciate it too. Last question. OU or OSU?
I'm an OU Sooner.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
Boomer
There you go.
Sooner. Taught to hate everything the Cowboys. So but yeah,
I love it.
I appreciate it. We're happy with what we're doing. We got a big time game on August 5th. We actually are hosting the Longhorns. And if I'm a Boomer Sooner fan,
I've heard that.
like
I'll be there.
We need you there. So pack out Park West and come support us this year, because I think we're gonna have a really good team.
Yeah, we've got season tickets.
Thank you very much.
We're there every year.
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
my wife and I are big Sooner fans.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, guys. Hey, listen, if you're an Aggie or a Longhorn out there, especially if you're a Longhorn, please don't hold that against me. We appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you next time on the Bomba Pod. Thank you so much to our sponsor, PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. If you want to try the very best small batch roasted coffee that you're going to find anywhere, look no further than PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. 2 great locations to serve you in the San Antonio area, at Camp Bullis and I-10 and at 281 and Bulverde Road. You're going to find all your favorites at both locations, from wonderful espressos, macchiatos, you name it, they've got it, as well as some delicious energy drinks, as well as our signature granita. And beignets, yeah, you bet we have them, and they are phenomenal. Be sure to stop by the PJ's closest to you and try any of our wonderful coffees, teas, and pastries. Thanks again to PJ's Coffee of New Orleans for sponsoring the Bomba Pod. Thank you for tuning in to the Bomba Pod. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, post it, and help us spread the inspiration. Special thanks to our producer, Dennis Ayotte, and to our sponsors, Window World and PJ's Coffee of New Orleans, for helping make these conversations possible. I'm Martin Bomba, and remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and your impact starts now. Until next time, go out and spread some kindness. Make the world a better place. The views expressed on this show by the guest or the host may not reflect those of our sponsors.